Hi! Okay. First of all, I got a haircut. I don't know if I've filmed since then. Oh no, I have. Never mind. Whatever. Today, we're going to be recreating this iconic look from Lindsay Lohan that everybody has seen. It's gorgeous. Love so much. That's what we're doing. But I'm going to do it all drugstore. Okay? All drugstore products, with the exception of the brushes. Invest in your brushes, people. So, my skin, I used my go-to skincare, which I will link down below. I've talked about it before. And I decided to mix these two foundations from e.l.f. and Rimmel to get the correct shade for me. And the way that I'm going to be applying that is with a damp sponge. My sponge had been sitting for a minute, so I had dampened it with water, but because it had been sitting, it had dried out a little. So I'm adding a little bit of the e.l.f. setting spray to just kind of rehydrate, which really, it's one of my favorite tips for making your makeup sink into the skin and stay put, okay? I talked about this in my most recent video, which were my top 5 tips for flawless base makeup that lasts forever. So if you are interested, I will link that above. So the way that I start off with my foundation, I always start in the center of my face, in the area where I have the most redness, the most, breakouts that tend to happen in my T-zone. After my foundation, I like to go in and contour my jawline. Now, Lindsay has a very contoured jawline. We definitely don't weigh the same. You know what I'm saying? Fat content distributed differently. So I was going in, this is something that I love to do anyway, contouring my jawline. I don't have a predominant jawline. I don't have a very defined jawline, so I do like to contour it. And this is an incredibly cool toned contour from Wet n Wild. So cool toned. Really great for creating shadows. It is heavily scented though, just so you know, and it does kind of bother me and it can linger. So that's something to keep in mind. There is one from Sephora that I like better because it isn't scented. So I'm going to be using the Diamond Bronzer from Physicians Formula. This is a really nice cream, it's kind of satin formula. So I'm putting it on the back of my hand so I'm not picking up way too much because I was a little bit worried it can be a little bit saturated. But the color was really nice. It's a great drugstore option. I definitely recommend, you can apply it with your fingers, apply it with a sponge, apply it with a brush, but just be careful how much you're using. So warming up the cheekbones, starting off with this to really just add warmth to the face in general. So Lindsay has her chin bronzed. I am not going to do that because it does not work for my face. I'm going to bronze a little bit the area that you're seeing right now. I want to call that a jowl area, you know what I mean? Because it's going to help kind of refine my jawline further, but maintain sort of that color throughout the face. So we use the contour underneath. I'm using a little bit of warmth in that area just to kind of make everything cohesive, but the shape looks a lot better for my face. Now obviously going in and warming up the forehead, which now that I have bangs, I really don't even need to do, but she was pretty, I gotta say, this makeup, so gorgeous on her, very glowy on paler skin, She had a lot of color and warmth going on in her skin and it looked so beautiful. Now I'm going in with the e.l.f. Putty contour. This is a little bit softer in color for my cheekbones. So I'm using this to kind of carve out my cheekbones. It's not quite as gray or purpley cool toned as the Wet n Wild one. So I'm using this on the upper part of my face. I have videos where I go into depth talking about this concept elsewhere, and I will try to link them if I remember. But this is a great color for my nose, It's not, like I said, not as purpley, so it looks a little bit more natural on my skin tone. Now she has a very different nose shape than I do. So I'm utilizing her nose shape as my contour inspiration. One thing I do want you to keep in mind in this video, the lighting is extremely different than all of the photos that we see of Lindsay, where she is flooded with light for the most part. The lighting is not as intense in this room. I also have lighting in the behind me and a little bit to the side of me, which I'm going to be changing my background. Just keep that in mind. Lighting is very important for the way that makeup looks. And so that's the reason that I'm going to be changing is because it didn't necessarily show the this makeup in the best light. I hate myself for saying that. So everything just didn't look quite as saturated in person. Next, I'm going in with this L'Oreal blush. I love these blushes. They're so beautiful, really easy to work with. But I wanted to tone it down a little bit. And I started to notice that this was a little too pink. So I decided to mix it with this Milani blush, which is a little bit more on the corally side, a little bit more warmth. Truthfully, with all of the drugstore products that I had, it was they were ever so slightly on the pink side compared to what she had going on. Now, I was doing kind of a general, like, Lindsay Lohan inspired in some of the looks. She's a little bit more pink. In some of them, she's a little bit more peachy golden. So I kind of like combined the two for this look. So just keep that in mind. Like, you have the option to go like a little bit more icy pink, baby pink colors, or a little bit more peach, depending on your undertone and or what you're going for. Either one, really beautiful. So because I didn't have my concealer on yet, I'm really building up this blush. Plus, she had a nice amount of blush on. So I'm speeding through my brows because I didn't use any drugstore products. Apologies, but I loved the way these brows came out. So if you want a tutorial, please let me know. Old school, oldie, but a goodie. I'm going back to my LA Girl Pro Conceal in Light Ivory, which is so silly that it's called Light Ivory because it is so peach and a great color corrector if you're looking for a drugstore option. I did two like light layers of this to really conceal and warm up, give me a little bit of warmth in the dark circles so that it doesn't end up looking gray when I use my concealer, which I ended up using a slightly lighter color for underneath my eyes. Preventing creasing by going in again and just kind of like setting with a little bit of setting spray and a brush. This is another nice trick. You just don't want to overdo it. So I picked up the L'Oreal Infallible Concealer in the shade Eggshell, which is I think it's like one shade down from Ivory, which is what I used to use, so that I could do a little bit more highlighting. And I think Ivory was just a little bit too close to my skin tone, especially for this. Her under eyes were, to be honest, I probably could have gone with a lighter concealer because her under eyes were very bright. So if you're trying to achieve that, just keep that in mind. You want to use a nice bright concealer. And if you are someone who has dark circles, make sure that you are color correcting, okay? You need to create that warmth because if you just go in with that bright concealer, it's going to end up causing that like ash from the darkness that's coming through. Because remember, makeup, it's not completely opaque, right? Rehydrating my brush, once again, great tip for creasing, blending everything out. I don't like it when my sponge is just like a little too dry. So sometimes I'm not even thinking about like, oh, I need this makeup to last all day. I'm just like, oh, I need to rehydrate my sponge and I'm too lazy to get up and go to the sink. That's just the truth of it. You know what I mean? But there, you know, that being said, it is a really great option for blending things out. So making sure that the outer corner of my eyes are nice and lifted and bright again, but I'm being careful not to blend this out too much. I just don't want to cover up all of that blush. That being said, we are definitely going to go in with a lot of blush, all right? Once again, keep in mind, I would say that the footage here, due to my background lighting, it looks a little more like contrasty. So it's less contrasty in person and ever so slightly less saturated. So make sure that you're blending. You guys know, back with my brush to make sure that everything is nice and smooth transitions here. Going back to the e.l.f. Halo Glow Powder, you know her, you love her. And you know what's really funny? This worked pretty well with a brush. I don't know that I like it with a puff. I don't know, I've fallen in love with the Huda Beauty powder that I've been using. So, you know, in terms of a drugstore option, I know a lot of you love it. So if you are interested in it, it's e.l.f. It's great. You can give it a shot. But I think I've graduated. So going in, making sure that all of the creases are blended out, and then really making that crazy face to make sure that everything is like nice and smooth when I go in and set with my puff. Spot concealing. Lisa Eldridge came out with these spot concealing pens or pencils, and don't be mad at me. I did not spoil the launch. I reached out to her and she said everything was completely fine. But if you don't know what I'm talking about, then just ignore that. Going in with this CoverGirl powder, which I love. It's really great. It's very finely milled and gentle, so it mattifies nicely without making the skin look dry, which is really great. Once again, with my puff and making sure to not go in with way too much, but her skin looked very smooth. So I am making sure to focus this in the areas where I tend to get a little oily, mainly the T-zone, between the brows. And then I am patting the rest of it all around the face. Especially focusing in areas like the temples where you can tend to get like a little bit of breakouts. If it's shiny, it can stand out. Now I'm going in with this blush, which I thought was going to be peachier, but once it was on my skin, it was a little bit more pink. And I wanted to, I wanted to set the blush. I wanted to amp up the blush, and I wanted it to look really, really soft, and it ended up being peachy or too pink. And then I tried to fix it a little bit later to be a little bit more of the color that I wanted. But honestly, I probably just should have stayed here because I liked that finish a little bit better. e.l.f. Lid Lock? Is that what it's called? It's one of my favorite eyeshadow primers. So I think it's the best drugstore. It's one of the best like eye primers there is. Best drugstore, hands down. Just patting that out, making sure that the inner part of my lid, where it's a little bit more hooded, is nice and blended so I don't get creasing there. And then I'm going to go right back to that powder blush, which is why I used a powder blush. I wanted to make everything cohesive. This is one of the things about this makeup look that she's been rocking recently. Everything works together so beautifully. It's a great, great trick for making your makeup cohesive. Just use your blush on your eyes. Use your bronzer on your eyes. You know what I mean? So very basic placement here as well. Just focusing on that outer corner. I picked up this other e.l.f. blush palette that had a little bit more warmth. This is where it starts to look a little bit more saturated, and I promise it wasn't this overdone in person. But I wanted to incorporate more of those warm tones. So now I'm going in with this Wet n Wild highlight, which is more of like an icy pink. I don't remember the name of it. I can't see it from here. But beautiful, a little too icy. So if you're going for like that icy pink look, instantly I was like, I started putting it down. I was like, oh, this is a little too cool toned for what I wanted. If you're going for that icy pink, great option. I end up balancing it a little bit more with the other, is it called Golden Flower Crown? This one from Wet n Wild, which is a beautiful bronze. It's just a little too dark for my skin. When I use them, I like to mix them. So, I ended up doing that. I would have just tapped back and forth. So that's just a little tip. If you want to use these, just be aware of like what the tones are. But yeah, gorgeous, gorgeous highlight. And to be honest, I don't think she had that much shimmer on her eyes, but this is my interpretation. Going in with this eyeliner, all in my waterline, all in my upper waterline. And then I'm going to slowly, once I've like lined all of that, I'm going to slowly start to just kind of dot that around the lash line, because she has, her eye makeup is very simple, to be honest. And then just blend that out. So I'm really just doing a little bit of like thickening of the lash line. Now, when I was looking at the images of her makeup, it didn't look particularly warm. So this eyeliner is like this really nice kind of like middle gray tone where it's not like too blue, it's not too brown. So it's just a little bit like softer than using a black, which is nice, especially for her coloring. So if you are similar coloring, then it would be a really great option. And again, I'm not going in with way too much. I'm just dotting and blending. Now I'm taking that along the lower lash line. Now I slowly built this up on the lower lash line because she has like this really nice definition. It's very, very soft, and it's just kind of like just under the lash line to kind of like open up the eyes, but make them a little, it creates this really beautiful, like feminine, like soft lash line on the lower lashes. So I'm slowly building this up. I am going to end up going in with an eyeshadow a little bit later to kind of build it, but this was perfect. Like, honestly, you could just go in with a little bit of an eyeliner, and this eyeliner really stayed put, which was nice. So you don't have to set it. She has this really beautiful, like kind of foxy inner corner. So I don't know if she even had any makeup there in her inner corner, but I decided to extend mine a little bit. Once again, those highlights, mixing them. I was a little too generous. Like, I don't know why I'm taking it all over my entire face. I wanted to be glowy, apparently. This is just such a beautiful highlight. Like, I loved it. I love it so much. It's really, really stunning, but I kind of forgot how intense it is. But I do think it looks beautiful. And then I decided to go in with a little bit more of that warmth on the eyes, trying to kind of like bring in a little bit more peach. Obviously hitting high points of the face. I think I was just using Golden Flower Crown for the nose, which was a little bit dark, but it works. It's okay. Taking a little bit of that on my lower lash line, just underneath, to kind of like create a little contrast in that inner corner. And then obviously a little bit on my brow, the tail of my brow. Hitting those high points. I'm gonna set everything with the e.l.f. setting spray, which I love, fabulous. Gotta fan myself off, you know what I mean? This is the, once again, brows, not drugstore. This is Refi Brow Gel or Brow Set, whatever. So just finishing up the brows. Again, I will do an in-depth tutorial because I died for these brows and I did them like ever so slightly different than usual. Curling my lashes with, I think, a Revlon. Is this Revlon? Yeah, it is. Revlon Lash Curler, which isn't my favorite. My rougher is my favorite. And then these Ardell Naked Clusters. Dude, these are like my favorite little clusters. They're so good. So I'm using the 14, 12, and 10. What I'm going to do is start off with the 14, the longest one, bringing it in ever so slightly. So you can see the way I'm applying it. It's kind of adding a lift to the eye. Now I'm going to 12, bringing it in a little bit closer. Okay, going in, 12. Then I'm finishing with 10. That's going to be my shortest one. Now I'm doing this before mascara. And then on the very outer corner, I'm doing 10s again. So it's not like too intense, you know? And then I'm going in with L'Oreal Telescopic. Now this is a waterproof mascara, which isn't necessary for this look. I could use a regular mascara, but to be honest, all of my drugstore mascaras are waterproof for some reason. So use what works for you. And then for my lower lash line, I actually use a brown mascara because I read somewhere or heard somewhere that when Ash K. Home did her makeup, did Lindsay Lohan's makeup, she uses a brown mascara. I think I heard that on Alana Davison's YouTube channel. Anyway, this lip liner might have been a little too dark. I was using it because it had a really beautiful, like, warm undertone without being too warm, you know? So I wanted to use this as a contour color to kind of like shape the lips, and I was trying very hard to follow her lip shape. Obviously we have different faces. I don't look anything like Lindsay Lohan, you know? But with these little adjustments, like when you look at little differences, like if you look at someone's particular lip shape, now obviously her lips are a little bit overlined, and it seemed like it was more focused on the outer corner, so that's what I tried to do. Once again, going back to the warmth, because I was like, I need to warm this up. Like, it's just too pink. And I should have just left it, but whatever. I don't know. A lot of you loved this makeup in my last video, so hopefully you can skip all the back and forth and just learn from my mistakes. And then I think I'm going in with a little bit more of Golden Flower Crown to once again just kind of like bronze it up, which is why I think the blush ended up looking like a lot, you know? But I promise you this looked so gorgeous in person. Blend, 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 blend. All right, lips. So I'm taking that blush that I used, the L'Oreal one, putting it all over the lips because the tone was so perfect. When I was looking at her lips, I was like, how do I not have a lipstick that is like this color? I couldn't find one anywhere. So I just used my blush, you know? And then once I have this blended in, like I'm blending softly into that lip liner because once again, the lip liner was for shape. It's for contour. So I'm blending over that and then just going in and doing little refinements where it's needed. For instance, her Cupid's bow in particular was like pretty defined. And then I'm taking a little bit of my concealer, just a little bit, and popping that right in the center to just like lighten it up a little bit, give it that nice kind of pouty look right in the center, not taking it up to that lip liner, you know? Thinking very much about the planes of the lips. Love. And then I don't know why I didn't show this, but I'm just using a clear gloss. I can't remember what it's from. I think it's from Wet n Wild. Just a little bit of a clear gloss on top. Ooh, now I'm picking up this e.l.f. palette because like I said, I decided to go in with a little bit more eyeshadow. I wanted to blend the lash line because I felt like her look was so soft and I didn't want there to be any like harshness, especially once I put down that glue from the lashes. So just going in with my tiny little rougher brush and softening that lash line with a nice like color that was pretty complementary of that eyeliner. So once again, not a black. And then I'm taking that on my lower lash line. Once again, keep in mind that her images are very like flooded with light. So her makeup is probably a little bit more than how it looks in those photos. And I felt like her lash line looked like so defined. Also sharpening up that inner corner. I really wanted to get it as close to her as possible. And then I'm going in with the L'Oreal Infallible 3-second setting mist to set my face. Nice fixing spray to make sure everything stays in place. What do you guys think? I love it. I think it's so pretty. Like, it's really inspired the way that I've been doing my makeup recently. Love the lip color. Yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed. Please let me know if you recreate or if this has, like, you know, made you want to try anything new. Tag me in any photos that you post. Please subscribe, comment, become a member, whatever you want to do. And I'll see you in the next one, you guys. Oh my god, bye. So cute. Okay, bye.